This conference will now be recorded.
There we go.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Meryl, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Great. All right. Sorry about that. We just got out of our weekly leadership meeting and Phyllis was looking at me going, Sean, it's 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So, so this is a weekly update. I really don't have much to update. I do have Sam with us because there have been a couple of items that have come up, and since we have this weekly update, I thought it would be nice to have him address a couple of items that have come up. So I was looking at the Department of Health's website earlier today, and I am happy to report that in the past 6 days, the positive percent positive is under 8%. So it looks like the state of Florida as a whole is trending downward. And I believe Martin County may be trending downward as well, although with the schools opening up, we might see a spike. We might see the numbers spike back up. But the good news is that the overall state of Florida is showing a less than 8% positivity rate. So, as you are aware, we did start the coffee and cake or pastry this Monday, and that seems to be going well. I think the last time I asked, I was told that there were about between 20 to 25 people coming down for that. And so we're really monitoring that to make sure that people are socially distanced and so forth. And so I would just encourage you, if you come down, to continue to exercise, the caution. We do have an attendant there who is pouring coffee and putting the pastry on your plate, so there's no communal touching of the coffee pots and so forth. So we can do that safely. I do know, I had confirmed with Sam earlier that we have resumed the weekly housekeeping services, so that's good. I can't remember, Sam, was that this week or was that the previous week? There's so many changes. It's hard for me to keep up, but it doesn't matter. I'm happy that we were able to resume the housekeeping, weekly housekeeping services as well. And then of course we opened up the billiards room, and the card room has been given back over to the residents, and we've moved the employees break room from the card room over to the Cove for now, because we still have to create that social distancing for our staff when they're eating their meals. So making small steps forward, but it is really, really delightful to see people come into the clubhouse. And I heard some laughter this morning from people that I haven't heard or seen in a while. So it just gave me great pleasure to be able to see and experience that once again, and see these flickers of the life here at Sandhill Cove. So happy to report all of that. The liability waivers, I wanted to address that. We have received, I think we're pushing about 100 that we've received on those. I have received some questions from residents. Well, what happens if I don't sign them and so forth? And we're not going to be asking anyone to leave or kicking anyone out. It's really at your what your comfort level is, if you will. I know that some people have stated that they've will be reaching out with their attorney to just review the acknowledgement waiver, and that's fine. Go for it. I would encourage you to do so. I've met with a couple of people about their perspective on the waiver. I've had a couple people ask me about testing of employees, and they were under the impression that we were testing our independent living employees more frequently. And what I will tell you is this, just, so we're above board and transparent. Our focus has been and continues to be on Water's Edge. We are regulated by the state, the Agency for Healthcare Administration in Water's Edge. And so they are requiring that we test our employees every other week. So that is what we're doing. For the independent living employees, so housekeepers, maintenance, culinary staff, we only test those. Initially, we were testing those. We went first round and we tested them. I got approval to do that, even though that's not what LCS wanted us to do. I did get approval to do that. Going forward, though, we are not testing our independent living employees regularly. We are only testing those individuals who work on the independent side if they fail their screen for maybe their temperature, or they have a symptom, or they think that they've been exposed, or they've come into contact with somebody. Keep in mind that as part of their daily routine, every employee who comes to work has to be screened. We have a series of, I think, 6 questions that we ask. And based on their answers, if they fail the screen, depending on where they fail the screen, we may have them pull aside immediately and have the health center come out and test them. Or if it's not as serious, then they can, park their car, clock in, come into work, and then we will test them that day. But there are certain criteria that if they fail, they don't even come into the building. We just, we just test them, send them home, and wait for the results. So I say all of that to say this, just to clarify: we're testing the health center staff every other week. On the independent living side, we're only testing those individuals in accordance with whether or not they fail the screening. So Meryl, was there anything else on that you think that I have forgotten?
No, I don't think so. That's what we talked about this morning. So I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, and then on the liability waiver, there's so many different perspectives on the liability waiver, and one perspective is, and it's the perspective that LCS has taken, is that there are, because there are more and more lawsuits occurring, and guess where they're occurring? They're occurring in Florida. There are several CCRCs over on the west coast of Florida that have some lawsuits pending around COVID. And so the perspective that we have taken is that let's mitigate our risk. And when I say we, I mean you at home, you as residents who live in this community. Because who pays the insurance premiums? Who pays the deductibles? All of that is expense that is passed off to the residents. Who pays the increases in insurance premiums? That's an operating expense, so that gets passed off to the residents as well. So we've taken a more strategic macro approach to this, and to help mitigate our risk, your risk, the community as a whole's risk, this waiver does help to do that. Now, I've had one conversation with an individual who did not want to sign it, and which is fine. I'm not going to twist anyone's arm to do that. But subsequent to that conversation, I did speak to our legal department and passed the concerns of that individual. And interestingly enough, our legal department responded and, number one, thanked me for, his insight. But number two, it really does just tie back to mitigating the risk and the liability. And the liability does fall on the community. It does fall on the residents who pay the premiums. So there was another point that I wanted to make there, and it has escaped me right now. So
Want me to add something to this discussion?
yes,
Yeah, I mean,
yes, please.
also, I think, there may be some people sitting around saying, why doesn't the Residents Council or why doesn't Snyder put out a position paper on this? And the very simple reason is I am not an attorney, nor is anybody else on the Residents Council. If you have a question that you're serious about, I firmly suggest that you call an attorney about it and get a point of view that's legitimate as opposed to somebody's feeling about something. Secondarily, I'd recommend that FLICRA has put out in their latest newsletter, which I believe is only available online at the moment, but will be out here in hard copy eventually. They've done a very good job of explaining what that waiver is all about in general terms. They did not take a position on it. They simply tried to explain what the waiver is all about, just as Sean was trying to do a moment ago. So if you have some questions about it, I suggest you see it, take a look at that newsletter from FLICRA and look at the article about the waiver in general, because it describes very nicely what the waiver is all about. And then you can, if that doesn't do it for you and you're still on the fence, please talk to an attorney who's licensed to practice in Florida and give you an answer. That's what I would do if I'm stuck on something, not go to somebody that you just think has an opinion about something. This is a legal matter.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Merrill. You gave me enough time for that fleeting thought to come back. And I was tying it back to my conversation with our legal department. And what our legal department basically said was, look, if there is something that occurs because of our gross negligence, and she used the word gross negligence related to COVID-19, and it could be something like, well, that we don't have any policies and procedures for screening employees or screening visitors, and, we're just letting anyone in willy-nilly, that would be gross negligence. So in the face of gross negligence, this waiver, would not stand in a court of law. This is what I'm being told. So that actually, gave me some great comfort to hear that, because, that's a perspective, even though I think it does say that in the waiver, but I think, I just read right over that, but hearing it come from our legal department reinforced, that perspective. So I'm going to hit pause here. And Merrill, anything else that you want to add to that?
Not on that topic. I'll talk about another topic when it's my turn.
Okay, so I'm going to jump over to Sam Topping to give you an update. I think there's a couple of things that have come up, so I wanted to use this time for him to address you as well. So Sam, thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just want to go over two of the services that we provide here at Sandhill Cove and shed some light on them. So we've had a couple questions about the pest control in the community, and Orkin is our pest control company that we contract with for these services. So once a month, Orkin does a exterior building treatment for the community to treat for all types of insects in all of our residential buildings. And then 4 times a month, they come out and do the service calls, which is usually on a Monday. And if for some reason they can't make it on a Monday, it might be a Tuesday. So just be aware that during those times where they do the monthly treatment of the property, you may see an increased sighting of insects. Another thing that really pushes insects to drive inside could be heavy rain or fresh landscaping in your area. Once they go through and cut up all the bushes and mow the grass, you're disrupting the homes of all these insects, and it pushes them indoors. So during those times, you may see heightened sightings. And then whenever you're going to call in for pest control services, if you call the front desk or call environmental services, try to be as specific as possible about the location of the insects that you're seeing. If you see them in your master bedroom or the kitchen, let us know that so we can put that in the service log so that when Orkin comes out on that Monday or possibly Tuesday, they have an exact location. And if you're not home, and environmental services has permission to enter your home, they will let Orkin in to take care of the area that you've requested. And then Orkin can leave a card inside your home letting you know that they were there and the type of treatment they did. Orkin has not been handing out cards letting you know that they've been here or with any type of treatment or anything like that. I've talked to them today and requested that they start to do that so that you know that the area has been treated. If they put baits out in your home or anything to treat for insects, please allow a 2-week window prior to placing another call for pest control. Depending on the type of ants you have or insect issue, it might take a couple of cycles of the insect going to the baits to really take care of the problem. So after 2 weeks, you shouldn't be having an issue anymore. So allow a 2-week window. And then if you do have any issues with Orkin or you're not sure if they came, you can always reach out to Jim in environmental services and he can refer to the log or get you the feedback you require for the pest control. The other item I wanted to talk about is transportation. So there was an email with some concern that transportation after 2 o'clock is a chargeable circumstance, and if you needed to do anything after 2, you're going to be charged for it. And that's not the case. It's not a message that we deliver. The last appointment for a doctor's run is taken at 3 p.m. every day. And the reason for that is we need from 3 to 5 to allow for picking up anybody that might be out at those appointments and getting them back before the end of the day. Now, if you do have a situation where you have to be taken out to an appointment after 3 p.m., it might be a chargeable situation because we don't know if we're going to have a driver stay late to do a pickup for you. So if your doctor's appointment runs till 5:30 and we have to have somebody stay after, that could result in a chargeable situation. And the other type of chargeable would be if you're going outside of the 10-mile radius for transportation, that would be a chargeable situation. So just wanted to clarify that if you're picked up after 2 p.m., you're not going to receive a bill because we came to pick you up from your doctor's office.
Right, rumors are really rampant. And so I just want to make sure that everyone heard what Sam said, because I got an email this morning at 7:30 saying there was a rumor that we're charging for appointments after 2 o'clock. And so I quickly called Sam and said, Sam, what's going on? Did something change? Did somebody make a decision that, you and I don't know about? And he said, absolutely not. So let's just dispel the rumor. There is no charge for medical appointments or transportation after 2 o'clock. It's actually, as just to reiterate what Sam said, is that the appointment time, any appointments made after 3 o'clock, there could potentially be a charge for that. Now, Sam, this has been in existence for, forever. So the 3 o'clock appointment time is not something new. We're just reiterating this because of the individual who had said that they had heard this rumor that we were charging beginning at 2 o'clock. So just dispel that rumor. And if you have any questions regarding this further, touch base with Sam and he'll set you straight. So
it also, it doesn't mean that we can't do something to help you after 3 o'clock either. So, just call transportation, state what the situation is, and we can direct you where you need to go if it's something we can help you with or not. So
great. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, bye. All right, Meryl, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I'm going to come at it from a little different angle this morning, or this afternoon, sorry. Usually Sean gets to read you all the awful numbers, and the numbers are getting better, so he doesn't have to read so much today. But while we're opening up more and doing more things now, I think it's a good time to kind of remind us, and I think we'd remind all residents really how awful this disease is. Because we see a lot of things on television. We see people on gurneys. We see people with ink, going into surgery and so forth. But I think just hearing what this thing can do to you, even if you come out the other end, I think is very important. So I'm going to use an example here, because this is the kind of thing you think you'd like to shout from the rooftops to some of these crazy people that are doing nutty things and tempting this disease all the time. But here are some of the symptoms that one could expect to experience if you get the virus and you fight your way through it and you come out the other side. And that's the good news. But listen to what you have to go through to get to the other side for a minute. First of all, extreme fatigue and exhaustion. We're talking about, flat on the back type exhaustion where you don't even have the strength to get out of bed. So, and cognitive impairment, which includes personal belongings that don't look like they're familiar at all, things you may have had for years you don't even recognize. You can't remember where things go or where things are or where they go. You have some memory loss. Maybe you can't even think of the right words for the sentence you want to put out to somebody. You're confused. You're uncertain. You're not sure what to do or what to say to anybody. You have no appetite and it's difficult to eat, so you tend to lose a lot of weight. That's not necessarily a good thing. You have perpetual dry mouth and terrible thirst. And I'm not talking about once in a while in the middle of the night when you need a little cup of water, which I often do myself. I'm talking about it perpetually. You're so thirsty, you want to drink all the time. You have flaking and peeling lips. And I suggest if you don't have any stock in chapstick, that this is probably not a good thing to do. You have a runny nose, which is fairly common, but you might have a loss of balance, which is not very common and a very scary proposition. You have an inability to work common things like phones and TV and microwave. You just don't know how to do it anymore. You're constipated, you have high fever and chills during the night. You may have nightmares, you have sleep deprivation, and therefore you wake up with extreme fatigue and exhaustion. And you probably are on borderline of being depressed most of the time. So this can last for 5 or 6 weeks if you get a dose of this. And that's something I don't think anybody wants. The symptoms don't subside automatically at the end of 14 days. This can go on for quite a while. So maybe the good news is you're alive, but then you're beginning to wonder whether it was worth it at some point in time. I'm talking about this not because I want to scare you, frighten you, or otherwise. I want to remind everybody to remember all the time why we are so very careful all the time, why we have lived the way we are. So as we reopen more, that's fine. Go and do the things that we're now allowed to do. Don't get fancy and think, well, if I can do this, I can do a little more than this. I can go a little bit different. I can go further, okay? Always choose the safe route. Wear your mask, wash your hands. To socially distance and don't do anything daring or crazy, okay? And remember, I suggest you act like you do when you're driving a car. Watch out for the other guy. You're wearing a mask, so you're watching out for the other guy, but is the other guy watching out for you? Maybe not. So think about it like driving a car. Always be alert to what that other guy's doing because he's the one that you have to fear, okay, if he's not playing ball. Keep your eye on the light on the end of the tunnel. The tunnel is getting a little brighter every day. There's several now in their phase 3 process. Today I heard they may have some early effectiveness numbers by November. So that's pretty fast. Nothing's going to be around till next year probably, but they got their foot to the pedal on this deal. So the light at the end of the tunnel is probably real. It's not another train, and that's important. So around here now, a lot of people have taken the pledge. I think probably all of the employees probably now have taken the pledge. If you haven't, go down and get one of these. I can't get this thing in the way. I have I have one of those on my wrist. Go down, recommit to working as a group with all the residents and all the employees to stave off this terrible virus, okay? Because with the employees on one side and the residents on the other, we have a very strong group in total, okay? So everybody would be looking out for everybody else in this situation, which we always are here anyway, because it's in our culture and it's part of our DNA. But I think you ought to go and re-up if you haven't. Re-up, get your wristband, and commit yourself to fighting this COVID-19 with the entire community, employees and residents alike, okay? And I call this Sand Hill Cove strong. I think everybody should be on board with this from here on in. And that's really all I wanted to say. Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to make everybody remember the fight isn't over. We're getting better and better, but we have to keep at it. That's it.
Amen. Thank you. Sounded like you were preaching. That was good.
Yeah. Elmer Gantry, I'll be right over.
Appreciate it. So that does conclude our updates for today. If you have any questions or follow-ups for me, please feel free to call me or email me. My email is seanp@sandhillcove.com, and my number is 223-6119. So feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. Other than that, have a great rest of your day. And just remember, the coffee and the pastries are open. I believe they open up at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And come down. We'll have an attendant there to give you coffee and get you a pastry. It's just a great opportunity to see your neighbor and just get out, breathe, see some new scenery. So we're glad that we've been able to bring that to you, and appreciate you all very much. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.